That's Putin calling out Israel for its siege of Gaza due to civilian casualties incurred in it. Now, this is happening as the Russia-Ukraine conflict enters its 600th day. As we speak, nearly 18 million people are in dire need of humanitarian assistance. Some 14 million people have been displaced from their homes. Russian strikes have damaged schools and homes in Zaporizhia. On the other hand, Putin blamed the Middle East conflict on failed US policy.
This is a clear example of failure of the US policy in the Middle East, which tried to monopolize the resolution of the conflict.
Meanwhile, Biden said Israeli occupation of Gaza would be a big mistake, but supports Israel taking out the extremists.
I think that it would be a mistake for Israel to occupy Gaza again. But to going in and taking out the extremists, the Hezbollah is up north, but Hamas down south is a necessary requirement.
Now, the Israel-Palestine issue is decades old, and many countries have a role to play in it. Given the turbulent history of Russia and the US and the complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict, let's look at what their stance is on the Israel-Hamas issue. In 1948, the US became the first country to recognize Israel as an independent state. The United States has been a very strong supporter of Israel. The Biden administration, meanwhile, has reaffirmed US support for the two-state solution. But it has also promoted Israeli-Arab normalization and resumed aid for Palestinians. Now, Russia has relations with both Israel and Palestinians. Russia has relations with several Palestinian political parties, including Hamas, which Russia does not consider a terrorist organization. It also has a lot in common with Israel, including the fact that many Israelis are former Russian citizens. Russia could potentially use its relationship to act as a mediator. China was one of the first countries to recognize the Palestine Liberation Organization and the State of Palestine. It strongly supports the Palestinian people's just cause for restoring their legitimate national rights. It also has relations with Israel, but said that it opposes all actions that harm civilians amid Israel's bombing in Gaza. Now, coming to India. In 2017, it voted against the US and Israel for an attempt to declare unilaterally all of the Jerusalem as the Israeli capital. But its relation with Israel are very close today. It's Israel's biggest arms customers, but has reiterated its call for sovereign, independent and viable state of Palestine. Next up is Israel's neighbors. Let's talk about Lebanon. Israel has fought 2 wars with Lebanon. Hezbollah, a Shia militant group backed by Iran in Lebanon, strongly supports the Palestinian cause. Syria, on the other hand, remains anti-Israel in its official policies and rhetoric. It hosts Palestinian militants and lets them operate against Israel, strongly supporting the Palestinian cause, and has even housed Palestinian refugee camps for decades. Saudi Arabia is the biggest and the richest player in West Asia. It has not had any formal diplomatic relations with Israel and has been a staunch supporter of a two-state solution and the rights of the Palestinian people. Next up, Egypt. After 2 wars with Israel, it became the first Arab country to recognize Israel and maintain diplomatic ties. It has consistently advocated for the rights of Palestinians and has played a mediator role in the Israel-Hamas conflict. The Egyptian public, however, is sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. Jordan is one of the 2 Arab countries that has a peace treaty with Israel. Jordanians remain largely pro-Palestinian, and the government often condemns Israeli actions in the Palestinian territories. The UAE took a significant step by normalizing relations with Israel in 2020, but it still voices concerns over Palestinian issue and supports the two-state solution. Like UAE, Bahrain also normalized relations with Israel in 2020. However, the Bahraini government is careful in balancing its newfound ties with Israel and its historical support for Palestinian rights. Qatar often plays a dual role. On one hand, it maintains relations with Israel, and on the other, it supports Hamas, offering financial aid to the Gaza Strip. Qatar often acts as a mediator in conflicts. Iran was the second Muslim-majority country to recognize Israel, but it withdrew its recognition. Iran and Israel had a strategic alliance under the Pahlavi regime. However, after the Iranian Revolution in 1979, Iran adopted an anti-Israel stance and cut off all official relations with Israel.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mo.